Barakallahu feekum. I was very happy to visit IAIS today, and thanks for inviting me to talk about this very important issue of the challenges that we face in the world and what responses we can have to the challenges from the Quranic point of view. And the title said Muslim societies, and I mentioned that yes, we're concerned about Muslims and Islam, but Islam is not just for Muslims, Islam is for everybody, Muslim and non-Muslim. And what Islam is teaching about the family, about the economy, about politics, about society, about how we can resolve our problems, common problems as humanity, is applicable to every human being. That was the gist of my lecture. I mentioned that if you look at the Maqasid of the Quran, or the objectives, the higher purposes of the Quran, you will find purposes related to every sphere of life. Purposes of dealing with wealth, purposes of dealing with the environment, purposes of dealing with society and people's privacy and chastity and family values and so forth. And these higher purposes could help us resolve the problems we have today if we define them properly, if we define them from within the Islamic paradigm, not outside the Islamic paradigm, because a definition that comes from a different paradigm might defeat the purpose. If we define a social problem as sexual freedoms, for example, we might be targeting the wrong target, because in Islam we don't have this kind of freedom. We have a certain system for marriage and certain system for defining sin and defining good, and that is for every believer to apply in their lives. If we define the economic issues in terms of the indices and growth and so on, that is good for government work, but that is not the best approach we take to banking or investment and so on, because we're supposed to aim to resolve some problems in the society. In addition to aiming for profit, of course, obviously, and obviously we have rich and poor, but not like that, not in the gap that we have today between rich and poor, to the extent that there is monopoly and there is poverty and hunger and so on in Muslim societies and in the world in general. So the Quranic objectives are not just about Maqasid al-Sharia in the traditional sense, even though this is a very important theory, but about a much wider theory that says, let us have objectives for humanity so that when we meet these objectives, we can resolve our challenges. But let us define the challenges properly and not define them based on a non-Islamic paradigm, because otherwise we'll not be able to solve the problems. And I called for educators and policymakers and universities and so on to revise their curricula and their policies and their paradigms so that they can meet the Islamic challenges and trying to aim at the Islamic objectives. And I had an excellent discussion, alhamdulillah, with, mashallah, our brothers and sisters, very good questions about the how. How can we activate, and what are the priorities, and how we can present the message of Islam to Muslims and non-Muslims. I even have a discussion with a couple non-Muslims who are here attending the lecture, and they agreed with me on the basic premises, even though they might be non-Muslims, but they agreed on this kind of approach to Islam and think that this approach would be good for humanity in general. Again, thank you, IAS, for inviting me, and barakallahu fiik.